When Behringer first announced the specifications of the Deepmind 12, I was very, very excited about the prospect of being able to use my modular synthesizer with an analog polyphonic synthesizer. But in their documentation, they don't really describe how to do this so well. And I haven't been able to find any videos, and I haven't been able to find really any instructions and forums or anything like that. So I'm going to show you how to expand your Deepmind. So where this got initially confusing for me is that the Deepmind 12 handles control voltage in a way that's sort of a weird hybrid between what a guitar pedal would do and what a modular synthesizer would do. You would expect this to handle it like a guitar pedal because it has pretty much expression inputs and sustain inputs that are quarter-inch like a guitar pedal. A guitar pedal needs either 3 volts or 5 volts. It has to be very highly regulated and attenuated, otherwise you could burn out the pedal. A modular synthesizer, on the other hand, at least a Eurorack style one, has 5 volts, negative, positive 5 volts, and it could kind of be over a little bit, and most modules can handle that just fine. Unfortunately, Behringer does not clarify which version of CV it uses. So if you end up doing what I'm doing in this video and hooking your modular up to your Deepmind 12, you're doing it at your own risk. So far, for close to a year, it's been fine for me, but that might not be the same for you, and I'm just giving you that disclaimer first. What's even more confusing and not outlined in the manual is the wiring. You need a floating ring cable. I use 2 floating ring cables. However, on the foot control input, which is CV, the floating ring cable is inverted. So you can either plug it halfway in, and it'll work fine like that if you want a cable plugged halfway into the back of your Deepmind 12, or you could wire your own, which is what I did after being sick of having it half plugged in. Sustain, on the other hand, which controls the gate of the Deepmind, can be a floating ring cable plugged all the way in just fine, and it's even worked with a normal quarter-inch to 1/8-inch cable going from the Deepmind to a gate output from the modular. So that being said, the great news is that the Deepmind 12's mod matrix and arpeggiator is highly configurable to work with control voltage and gate, and that allows us to do some really cool things. Let us have a look at what we need to do to set that up. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna hit global until we get to the pedal settings. I'm gonna use expression. And you could also use foot control. That's basically just the word you're using to in the mod matrix, so let's just stick with expression because it's easier. ARP plus gate, that works with Eurorack. ARP minus gate, that'll work with something like the MS-20. You also have some other options here, and for the sake of not making this video 45 minutes long, I'm just going to link to the manual, and the manual actually does explain what these other options do for the gate, but let's just stick with ARP plus gate for now, and then your mode sustain, of course. Have a look at my arpeggiator settings, and if you run into any problems, this is a good thing to note. I don't really think any of this has anything to do with the gate input, but just there you go. And finally, when you're in the mod matrix, you'll want to assign the CV to something. So for example, if I want to assign my CV as the expression, and if I want to assign it to, let's just say the oscillator 2 pitch, or whatever you want, you can assign it to all of these different things coming from your Eurorack. And that's all there is to it. It just took me a lot of trial and error to figure out the things I mentioned earlier in this video. So let's have some fun. By the way, this bruise on my eye is from sparring while boxing. I didn't get attacked by an Apple fanboy or something. So I have my FA06 as the main sequencer here, and that's sending a clock out to my modular. It's also controlling the Deepmind 12 via MIDI. Now I have the maths assigned to the cutoff of the Deepmind 12. So great. So I have my clock going into dividers, going into logic gates, and all of that's going back into the Deepmind's sustain input as the gate, and the maths is also now going to be triggered by that clock input rather than just be a random LFO. And so we should have something that sounds somewhat nice, and it'll take like 1 or 2 bars to actually figure out the clock. There we go. As always, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments if there's anything you want me to cover in the future. Bye.